Hey, what's up? This is Kellen from Wizard Tricks. This is the Order Podcast, and I'm excited to bring you guys an awesome episode today. We have a great team with us, and I'm going to let everyone intro themselves, and then we'll get started.
So, hi, I am Mark from Zoom Plays.
I'm Lynette from Wizard PhD.
And I am Brecha from Witches Unite.
Awesome. All right, cool. So we're going to get started, and we're going to talk about spellcasting today, which I think will be a really fun, interesting topic. So let's get started. What do you guys think the spellcasting is going to be like in Wizards Unite?
Okay, I'll go first. So I think there may be a couple of different ways of doing it. So I think what's always consistent in every single Harry Potter game is trace the thing on the screen. But I think it's a little bit boring on its own. So I'm kind of hoping they branch out into something else a bit more diverse than that.
Yeah, I sort of have the same idea that as much as I might like it to be really awesome and cool and exciting, it's probably going to be some cross between our finger movements in Pokemon Go and our finger movements in Hogwarts Mystery.
Yeah, I agree. Or possibly, so going back to the Samsung rumors that people kept talking about, using a stylus or something as like another tool to do the tracing. Like, I think it would be super cool to have some sort of motion or something else involved, but at this point, I'm not sure exactly how the technology is in terms of what they've developed so far.
Well, and especially since this is technology we're supposed to use outside the home, I mean, I have an ancient Wii Fit, like first generation, which obviously is motion in front of a screen, but you have to have that little bar that reads it. So I don't know what sort of motion technology exists for on the go.
Yeah, all phones have got like accelerometers in them, but I don't know how accurate that can be used for spellcasting. Mm-hmm. I think Matt from Animagus, he actually, in his latest video, actually suggested he could have like a phone movement to cast. But I don't know how accurate an app could track that phone movement.
Right.
Well, I do know, like, the iPhones have a lot of technology in them for that type of thing. I don't know how well lots of other phones have, in terms of the broad spectrum. Like, I'm sure, I'm not as familiar with the Android line, but I'm sure the high-end Androids have that technology as well. The Google, I'm sure, has that. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of other ones, but I think as you go down the tiers, that's going to become less and less of something that's going to be supported. But I do think there could be something. I think they don't want to make it too crazy where, like, people are, like, outside, like, waving their hands around and, like, all this stuff, which would be fun, but I think people would be like, what are they doing? And, like, everyone would know for, like, the first month Wizards Unite came out, and it would be a big splash. And I think it would actually draw a lot of attention and a lot of press to the game. But I do think it'll be a touch component. But I also think that if they wanted to include more gesture type, like dueling or component to the game, they could make it where it's like specific to, for instance, the iPhone, where they've done that with the AR technology, where you have to have an iPhone and a certain type of iPhone to be able to use it. They could do some of that for more dramatic gameplay.
Yeah, and it would be just like an additional thing. Like, it's not necessary for the game. Like, people that have it can do it, but for example, I got an iPhone. I used to have a Note 5. Yeah, I know. This is my first iPhone, so I'm learning how to use it. But I wasn't able to use AR Plus, and now I am. So, but it's like, it wasn't essential for me to use it to play Pokemon Go. But that's why the Samsung thing wasn't as big of a deal to me, is because it would just be an additional something extra. Mm-hmm. It's not something that would prohibit certain players that don't have a particular phone from playing the game, because they wouldn't do that. They need to have as many people to play as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think it would be cool, actually. Because a lot of the old Harry Potter games and Hogwarts Mystery, they draw the spell on for you, and then you follow that. But what would be pretty cool is if it didn't draw any spell on, and you could quite literally cast any spell by tracing it. So, you come against an encounter to catch a snitch and you accidentally cast Wingardium Leviosa instead of something else, and it flies away instead of catching it. That'd be quite cool.
Yeah,
I actually like that idea. Yeah, so you have to have the knowledge of the spells instead of them just telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my next questions. What are they going to do? Are they going to make it so that everyone knows and that it just like comes up and it's prompted and you do that motion, or do you have to know that motion? And I think that'll be interesting with Hogwarts Mysteries. You don't have to remember what the motions are for each spell. It just comes up and you do it. So I do think it'll be interesting. I don't think that they'll, because of the mainstream, and they want to have a large, amount of people playing. They're not going to limit it too much to you have to remember, because it's going to be difficult for, people who are not like major players, especially at the beginning, to remember all that and then not have as great of a game experience. So I would personally like to have to remember the spell in order to use. I think it would be a lot more telling to your ability as a player, but I think it would also be too challenging for people who aren't hardcore gamers or like hardcore into the game, and push them away from actually using the game.
You could have a leveling component. So I was looking at some of those graphics in the last trailer, and it almost looks like the broom encounter is like a level 4 type encounter. So you'd have to have that sort of skill level. So maybe like there are simpler spells, and as you progress in your levels, the more complicated your encounters could be.
Yeah, I was thinking about what could be, I mean, this might be our next topic, but in terms of what you would do at these sorts of, the equivalent of a Pokestop or a gym. And part of it could be like learning spells or training up and doing that sort of thing. I think that the tracing would be, I think that it makes the most sense to me. But I also, I don't know if I'm a minority in this, but I get kind of impatient and annoyed of like, okay, I have to like do this tracing, although I know like that's part of it. So I'm wondering also if there's like some sort of like options for like if you hold down on the screen and there's like different types of spells that you could just select and choose from, and maybe that pops up with like a traceable thing, or it has like a little symbol with like the motion of the spell that you could do. But I'm not sure like how intricate or detailed it would be.
Well, maybe how they layer it is they have a screen where you can select moves, but then you can, for people who have the phones that are capable of it, you can then also do the physical motion. So instead of there's not tracing, it's selecting, and then because that's what it is in Ingress. There's really not a lot of tracing or circular movements or active patterns in Ingress. Maybe it's just a select, and then the phones that can do an actual motion, you can do that.
Well, and that would still add, if you could, like if you had to choose your spell, that still requires you to know like the best spell for the situation, which would definitely make it more interesting than just being told what to do. That would add a cool layer of complexity.
Definitely. I think even if it is tracing, it's not going to be as bad as Hogwarts Mystery. So
I don't think anything will be as bad as Hogwarts Mystery. And I still play. Like, I've been playing nonstop.
I know.
It's like a drug. I can't stop.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough. But yeah, so I think anyone who's worried about the tracing, if there are people worried about tracing spells, just know if there is tracing, Niantic won't screw it up as bad as Hogwarts Mystery. I would be really surprised if they do it that poorly.
I actually remember the first Harry Potter games. The guys playing them all on PC like a couple of years ago, and they would actually measure the quality of your spell, as you were learning it, as in how accurate you could get it within the tracing element.
I played those too when I was in middle school.
I always used to get it wrong because casting a spell with a mouse is really difficult.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, well, let's move to point of interest then. What do we think point of interests are going to be? Where do we think they're going to put them? Is it going to be pretty mirrored to Ingress and Pokemon Go? Or do you think they'll switch it up a little bit?
So Niantic has said that they're using the same, I don't know their word for it. It's like their real world data or something, for this, and it's based on the same, I guess, whatever data that they have.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, we know that there's an overlap between Ingress and Pokemon Go in regards to locations, but they're not totally identical. So that'll be interesting to see if there's like a lot more locations like in Ingress, or if there's a lot less as in Pokemon Go. As a rural player, I would love to see more locations and not less, because there's not a lot near me playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in terms of which is it going to be closer to. So I've already said this before. I don't play Ingress, but I do play a lot of Pokemon Go, and I'm familiar a little bit with how Ingress works. So I think it depends on how, like, what is it that we're doing in the game? Is it that we're playing against the game, and the game, like, is the calamity, and we are, I don't know, Wizards Uniting, and so we are using these locations to, like, control the calamity, and so it's a matter of, like, controlling something. Or if we go, I don't know, a different option in terms of, like, if we're doing the 3-team thing, but then how does that play in with what it is that we're doing? But I do think that, even though I'm not sure, and I would love to know what y'all think, I think that there will be some sort of items. I don't know what the items will do. And in terms of, like, if there's an analog to gyms, like in Pokemon Go, that those could be locations for activities that help level up our player character if we have different attributes, or perhaps like some sort of puzzle things that we unlock something, maybe. Those are the sorts of things that I think, from what I know of the trailers and what I think should happen, those are some initial ideas, but I'm still a little fuzzy on what the specific things might be.
Yeah, because I was trying to work out what gameplay would be like, and I was thinking it's like, or what is, like, it's almost like a mission-based thing I was going down the road of. So you have to go and pick up a mission from somewhere. So perhaps like there's an SOS outpost where you go and pick out missions and possibly return them and stuff like that. So maybe that's one kind. But say Ingress only has one type, and Pokemon Go's got 2 types. So who knows how many different types of POIs we can actually get.
Yeah, it'll be. I think it's going to be similar to Pokemon Go and Ingress. They are definitely going to merge their technology. I mean, they did that with Ingress, and they're continuing to build on that. I mean, it's something that they've built their games around. I mean, the mapping system that they have, that's kind of their big tech that they're able to use in their games. So they'll definitely draw that over. But in terms of, like, what the Pokestops or what the stops will be, what they'll be called, I do think there'll be multiple types, like Pokemon Go. I'm sure there's going to be items and stuff like that. Maybe there's training posts. I think that's the other way to go. I mean, maybe instead of gyms, maybe there's training posts. But I do think that there will be. It may not be gyms. Maybe there's larger points of interest. Maybe like in your town, the more popular sites are gyms or higher level points of interest, where there are places that Death Eaters or different beasts show up, because they have talked about that in terms of battling. So the raid system is going to be a thing in Wizards Unite. So where are they going to place them? I think that's something curious. I mean, right now they place raids in gyms. So what type of stop are we going to have that they put a raid boss? You know, whether it's a dragon or a Death Eater or a mountain troll or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, that's just going to be a spawn. It's always hard to say. It'd be pretty cool for, like, Kappas. You had to try and catch a Kappa in a water biome. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they definitely could have if they do put beasts in a way that you can catch them or tame them, kind of like a Fantastic Beast type of play, I think they'll be biome dependent, because I think they want people to get out, and where you can catch a lot of things no matter where you are. They want people to travel too, so there may be regional beasts. You know, there are beasts in specific areas, so I think
that would be really cool. Some sort of region exclusive. Because I mean, yeah, if you read the original Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, that she wrote for Comic Relief, yeah, like some things are native to certain areas and you don't find them in other countries.
Yeah.
So.
And it might not be catching, but doing some sort of research or like interacting with the beast. Because I was also thinking, like, what sort of collectible things might there be? Like, might they introduce chocolate frogs with cards? And like that is, I mean, it's not really something that's super important to like controlling the calamity, but it is some like, I don't know, side thing that you can do and like get some sort of medal for or something. I don't know.
I think they should. I don't know why not. You know, but and it could have some sort of significance. It may be small, but it could have some sort of significance.
Well, like I would love it if we had the chocolate frogs and the cards, because that, again, talking about the old school CD-ROM computer games, it was an optional part of play, but that was like an Easter egg, I guess, sort of. You trying to find the different chocolate frogs around the castle and you collected them. And it would just be nice to have like a little throwback to the original game.
I agree. A lot of the games that they've had in the past have included chocolate frogs and collecting cards. So I think it's something they'll include in some way. You know, that's I think one of the challenging things with trying to talk about Wizards Unite is there really could be so much they do with it. It's so different than any other Harry Potter game. I mean, even with Pokemon, you know, I think you could guess to a large degree what Pokemon Go was going to be like. I mean, they had done a kind of a joke of it for Google during, you know, Google did it for an April Fool's joke and things like that. So you could have an idea of what Pokemon Go was going to be like. But Wizards Unite, there's so much it could be because the Harry Potter universe is so broad, and there's a lot of different side stories, and the actual, because of the literature behind it, there's so many different directions it could go, especially with Fantastic Beasts coming out over the last handful of years, and the different side stories, and then, you know, the Cursed Child, and like all these different things that surround the Harry Potter universe in one way or another. You know, there's so many different directions they could go in, and so many different types of things they could include. It really is just so much.
And then add to the fact that it's present day, so that even opens things up to be essentially create new canon, maybe.
Yeah.
Jury's out on whether or not games count as canon, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it will. I mean, I think this game will count as canon, specifically because it's such a large game. Like, this is on such a large platform. They want to make it pretty accurate. I mean, even with Hogwarts Mystery, I think they've tried to do their best to. I think they've tried. They may not have done a great job, but I think they've tried. But specifically with Wizards Unite, I mean, you do have the author involved in the process, which is very different than other games. You know.
Yeah, that's very cool.
You know, it's like Jam City creating Hogwarts Mystery didn't have her as part of the development of this. You know, it was something they were just contracted to be able to do, and she didn't have the type of input she's going to have with Wizards Unite, or that she is shown to potentially have with Wizards Unite. So I think for this game, you know, maybe not Hogwarts Mystery, but I think with this game you could count on that. But we'll see. I think it's partly her way, potentially her way of creating new canon in terms of a creative outlet to continue her creative process within it without having to write a book. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that as an artist, I feel like that's a pretty fun and cool opportunity to create a deeper level of story without actually having to write a book.
Hmm.
You know?
I hope all the developers are Harry Potter fans. So they'll guard the canon a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think with a game this big, they will.
Yeah, for sure.
So. All right, well, awesome episode, guys. Thank you for joining. Unless you guys have anything else you guys want to say about that. Anyone want to add one more thing?
Looking at the live chat.
Yeah.
And we got talking about
we do
having
have a
Quest in the game.
That'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
that'd be
That's where
awesome.
the chocolate cards could come in.
yeah. It's actually could how the chocolate frogs could come into it. You could collect different quests based on it, or the person gave you a quest. Maybe the person who got the chocolate card from gives you a quest. That'd be cool.
The other one is about the potion brewing, and I know Niantic love their consumables. Doesn't we have like incubators and bursters and all sorts of stuff? Yeah. And I definitely want to have something that you can buy extra of using your own money. So I think you'll definitely get some sort of be able to buy pre-made potions for sure. And it would be pretty cool if you get ingredients that spawned and you could collect them, and you could learn to make your own potions as well to some extent.
That would be cool.
And that could help with like in terms of items that would have more rarity. So like some more advanced potion making, or because there has to be some sort of like leveling or difficulty. Because I was trying to think of like what items. I don't think that there would be invisibility cloaks running around everywhere. Like I'm trying to think of like what are the items that would be widespread that we could collect, but also have like some degrees of rarity that could make it more challenging. I think that would be a great thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we talk about potions, I also think that's an opportunity for Niantic to put some money, ask for some money for. There's going to be something inevitably. I mean, that's how they make money. It's going to be a free game, so there's going to be something in the game. If people don't think that's going to happen, then I'm sorry to burst your bubble. But there's going to be something.
Well, I was thinking like cauldrons could be like incubators, where you have your own like basic cauldron, but then you can get a like super cool cauldron that brews potions faster or something.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Yeah, maybe you have to put the ingredients together, and it takes like 6 hours to brew it.
Yeah,
I see that being a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Cool stuff. Fun topics today. I like this one. All right, great. Well, thank you all for joining. Appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and we'll be back soon for another episode. And Happy New Year to everyone. All right, the year of Wizards Unite.
Woo!
pretty exciting. All right, bye guys.
Bye.
All right.